Hey, I'm Jonathan, and I live in London, England.
Hey, I'm Jeff, and I live in Perth, Australia.
Together, we are Ekko and Sidetrack.
We produce music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between the giant space that separates us.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack.
Hey, buddy. I know you just woke up, and thank you very much for seeing me this early in your morning. How's it over there in the sunshine?
That's fine. The sun is shining. Weather talk again. Winter is over. It's cold again.
Winter is over.
No, sorry, summer is over. That's the general feeling.
Is it though?
Yeah, basically. The sun, you notice the sun starts to, the sun has peaked and the sun's starting to go down at 7:30, 8.
Did you get any UK summer vibes in? Did you go to any festivals, Jonathan?
No, I did not. I think the most UK summer stuff I've done, for Jake's birthday, we went to a park and had some beers around 5 p.m. With some of the guys, which was kind of summery. You know, there were lots of people in the park. Beers in parks, man. That's basically all I've done. I went to London Fields. It's a bit festivally. But yeah, just apart from a handful of times I've been to parks and had drinks with under 8 people. That's probably the most summer vibe. I was
sucks a bit of pole.
Yeah, but one of the things I was talking to Sebastian last night, and he said he wants to take advantage of the end of summer as much as possible, and I echoed that sentiment. So I was thinking maybe we could figure out some sort of house party and get some decks there, and even if it's 15 people, just I don't know, mix some house tunes and drink some ciders and have I don't know. Yeah, just
This could be the best month of your life if you make it.
yeah, basically, because September's it. September is it. At least that's what people are telling me that live in this country. And
and they'd know.
And they would know, and I wouldn't know. So Ryanair are offering £5 flights today.
Do it, man. Get on a plane. Well, Byron went to Greece. He's gone snorkeling again. He actually dives, but it's funny to call it snorkeling. But yeah, he's gone diving again. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't got the virus by now, go ahead and get it. If you're in your country, I mean, whatever.
Well, I know
That's irresponsible.
I know I've had the virus, but the thing that holds me back is the
fact you have the virus.
Is the growing list of countries that go on the quarantine list.
Yes.
So
yes.
You know, I think Czech Republic recently got added. Things just get added. You don't know when.
Had they been putting shows on in the Czech Republic?
Yeah, they have. Who's done shows there? I think Katie's done a couple of shows. I spoke to her the other day, and they've been socially distanced, limited capacity, but yeah, kind of normal-ish shows. I know Millbrook played a show on a boat a couple of weeks ago.
In international waters?
I think it was just a river. It was a riverboat. It looked like a sick gig, actually.
It did look like a sick gig. Okay, so you're planning on doing some winding up your summer with a few more festivities.
Well, I'd like to, because I don't want to. You have to take advantage of the summer that we've got, and I think I don't know about booking a holiday today, but maybe it is. You know, it's a £10 investment. I can always just fuck it off if Greece or another country gets added to the list. Ireland has been suggested as another holiday.
Do it, man.
But I don't really. something I've written this morning is that I need to swim in the ocean. So I have to go somewhere that has the ability for me to swim. And
You can swim in the ocean in Ireland, Jonathan.
Ireland is, I can, but the ocean that I want, which is essentially North Beach in Perth, Greece is going to be the closest thing that fulfills that. And I've never been there, so maybe Greece is the one. And I just...
Grab yourself a friend and head on down. Take nothing but a small suitcase and a hat.
A pack of dreams. Well, I was talking to Adelaide.
Oh yeah.
And she's the one that told me about the £5 flights. So we're going to price something up and see what was going on.
Do it.
And if that doesn't happen, if that falls through, what I'm going to do is either go to Plymouth, Bournemouth, or Cornwall, because they all have coves and oceans. The sea's kind of cold, and then each of those, like, I would just kind of go for a weekend away by myself, maybe, or if I went down to Bournemouth, I would try to meet up with Sebastian Krakota. And drink ciders, and yeah, it was an idea we discussed a long time ago on a Zoom chat. But yeah, do something holiday-ish within the country.
I think that's important.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Can you go to Iceland?
I believe I can go to Iceland, but Iceland may also be on the cards for Christmas. So if I can't come home for Christmas, an idea Delia and I spoke about was me going to Iceland.
And this is good. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I spend it with some family. I mean, I honestly don't know. Like I honestly don't know. It's up in the air. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Getting back into music after wrapping up another tune, and yeah, just looking for that little bit of inspiration, that little spark that comes along, and finding it.
How has today been? So I sent you a new demo yesterday, and you had some notes for me this morning, but I found my day in the studio yesterday to be quite productive because I felt a bit like some weights had been lifted off my shoulders for a various number of reasons. With the new single wrapped up, how have you felt going back in the studio today, knowing that, you know, we got the master sent to us on Monday? Like, how does it feel to be like, okay, and now like fresh? You know, you've got some wiggle room to just create purely, and I know that's something that you've wanted to do for the past couple of weeks, but you've been wrapped up with this single.
Yeah, I've chosen not to dive in on a complete blank slate. I've opened a few old projects and seen what I could farm out of them, and seen what's inspired me and what's grabbed me, and I found one that I'm going to change around and turn into something else and have a play with, because it's very intimidating to return back to that perfect blank page or screen, if you will. But I've got a few musical ideas that I wanted to kind of play with, but I don't think today is the day. Sometimes I'll come into the studio and I'll be like, I feel like music, and then I feel like sound, and I need to feel one or the other, and I kind of just try and dive in. When I come back after dinner for the late shift, I'm going to set myself a timer, get on with like an hour and a half's worth of work on this thing so I can send it to you, and then give myself 2 hours on something new, and just try and write some sounds in there and get a little bit more musical.
So I sometimes find, like yesterday, I didn't really know what mood I would be in, so I started with something musical. I basically just went through projects and was like, oh yeah, this is where that's at, made a little note. worked on it for 2 minutes, looked around, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel inspired, so I moved on to the next one, and found myself after opening 6 projects at the song that I worked on. Do you do the same, or do you feel like there's more intention in in your drive to the studio? Are you like, okay, I'm going to work on voltage controlled, or I know I want to work on this? Is it maybe a little less random or intuitive?
Sometimes I have a goal. Sometimes I will say, let
There be light.
the project kind of guide me, or like, let's see what's going on. But yeah, today I have had a goal, since I sat down and had to take care of a few other bits and pieces, and then I decided I'd open, an older tune and see what I could make of it. Today I was it's definitely gardening over architecture today.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just tinkering around with that, and plus doing a few other little things on Photoshop, but hoping to get them done before I go home for the evening meal, and then return back to the studio to get into it again. And then tomorrow I'm starting the day a little bit differently, and I will go into the night again. I was kind of looking for inspiration a little bit like you do, as we both do, like kind of on Spotify, and hearing some different songs, and kind of, that's what I've been liking doing, like whether at the gym or just like I'll pick a random time to listen to Spotify, and I'll just be like, what have you got?
Yeah.
And there's been some like cool house stuff, and I was even listening to like Tycho the other day, and like just listening to like 2 sounds kind of interplaying off each other in like very harmonious ways, which is kind of something you sometimes forget to do in drum and bass. You're like, oh, it has to hit like this, it has to do this. You can get lost in the making of the sound rather than just write a good fucking song. And one of the things I'm going to try and do later tonight is write some nice music, and then be like, how does this become a drum and bass song, rather than being like, make a song as a drum and bass song, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very behind the scenes for anyone who's not a producer, but this is kind of how we approach things, I guess, isn't it?
When I write my more musical stuff, I basically start writing. I remake a Zeta patch that I like. I remake that in Serum, and then use 2 hands on the piano. That sounds like a basic thing, but so often we're sometimes writing just with 1 hand. And I know that it's like a mental thing, like using both hands and just start playing things, and not even work out what key you want to work in. Just start having combinations, and sometimes it's just like octaves, or you're splitting up a chord, like simple chords, but just getting harmonies between an upper octave G and a lower octave F. When they're in the same octave, you'd never play them together, but when they're split, they start to sound interesting. And then when you add an octave to that, that's when you start to get interesting overlays, especially if the sound you're writing with has a bit of reverb and a bit of delay.
Yeah, and then working, having a nice note or something that's held in the background can give you a nice bed of music or a bed of sound to start working.
And deciding the tune's in E and just having a string hold E. The other thing, I do that at 87 BPM,
which is halftime for people at home.
Halftime drum and bass. And then write with the metronome, so it's a slower metronome, doesn't feel as rushed, and you can kind of sometimes play within those. It's just a bit easier to get your mind out of like the speed of drum and bass, which I know it can be sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the other funny thing, that we are restricted is a strong word, but sometimes I'll listen to a band or some other piece of music, and I'm like, you guys don't even think about, your tempo or anything like that. And I think sometimes I can see that as a restriction when really I should be like, I don't have to think about it either. I just have to, I'll write a song and then just work out how to make it a drum and bass song later. And that's kind of the way I'm approaching things more so now rather than trying to write instantly at 174, because that's a fast way to find, well-oiled grooves, and that's pretty fucking boring.
But it's also, how would you... Fuck, where did I hear this and who was talking about it? I hate hearing snippets of something. Chase and Status. So they made for Return to Jungle, they made all original dancehall tunes for those songs, and then they remixed them, and that's how they came up with the drum and bass versions of them.
Sick.
And that's something that we've obviously, with the bootlegs and the remixes we have done that before, but that might be an interesting exercise to do again. Like, if you're listening to a lot of Tycho, I think he writes somewhere between 115 and 135 with obviously organic sounding instruments. So writing with similar parameters, whether it's your guitar or the organ or just a synth, and then remixing it, so it's not even a drum and bass song, and then you just sample it. So you sample parts, so you're not automatically thinking like this is the rhythm of the song. There's kind of like 3 or 4 main rhythms or traditional rhythms you can go with when a song's at 174.
That's also a very good way to approach using new instrumentation in your music.
Yeah.
One thing I think it was Bonobo speaking on Jamie Liddell's podcast, talking about rather than buying a big synthesizer or buying a harp, he hires a harp and a harp player for 2 days, and he has some musical ideas and they just kind of jam, and he only records the harp, and then he just goes back in and multi-samples a bunch of harp things.
Yeah.
And maybe he's taking like singular notes, or maybe he's taking whole little motifs in certain keys or whatever, but he's then, sampling himself.
Yeah.
And I think, we could totally benefit from doing more of that. There is a little bit of pressure sometimes, I find, to sit down and we got to do. But I think taking that time is very important. As I recently heard a nice quote that said, people waste years not taking hours to sort something out.
Yeah, that's very, very true. That's so true. I think taking time to do things is the best ideas always come out of play.
Yeah, absolutely. Or just like you're in a zone and then you can just do it. Very rarely, you're never going to force creativity.
No. And it's
not this early in a project anyway.
And it's funny that we talk about creativity a lot, and we're very aware of this. We've had similar discussions before, and I think even when you're so aware of it, you need to remind yourself of it
constantly, man. Otherwise, you just get caught up in like, I've got to do.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. I don't have time. Oh, all these things. You tell yourself a million excuses, and habits start as cobwebs and then become chains. They are things that you
got some proper fire coming out today.
That's not mine as well. I can't remember who said that, but
just claim it. Just claim it as your own.
But it's true. It's in like you start to do these things too often, and they'll become where you naturally revert to. So then it becomes something you have to break to get over. And that's why sometimes, realizing that you're in this little spot, you have to be like, oh, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that. And then there's other times where you realize, you know what, it's fine that's what this is, and I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to do that because I know as I progress further down the line, something else will jump out at me. I spoke to Carl downstairs just before, and he was like, is this song, is it good? like, am I overthinking this? I can't, like, and I'm like, yeah, it's sick. And he's like, I feel like it should do. And I'm like, it does what it says on the box. That's what this song is. You've got other songs that do this thing. This is one of those songs, but don't let it stop you working on it now. You know, like, don't shoot it down too early, because otherwise your judgment gets in the way of creativity.
Yeah. I think it would be... What do you think it is that... I mean, every creative second guesses their creativity at some point. Like, do you think... Do you think people like Pink Floyd or Bonobo or someone that's very successful that financially doesn't necessarily have to worry about a time limit, someone like fucking Post Malone or something, and can just sit in a studio and doesn't have to worry so much about whether something is good or not, because he's under no constraints, kind of like he thinking about his career as much as maybe other people are.
He's under different constraints, though. That's the thing, man. These constraints we put ourselves under only become new constraints when you get new problems.
Yeah.
More money, more problems. Like, he's thinking, is this good enough? Is, you know, just because he has the time to make 70 pieces of music, then he has to boil it down to 10 to put it on Spotify, or the tune on Spotify, the album. You know, yes, are those ones good? Is this good? Like, is that verse I'm singing even good? Like, is this song actually as good as my last output? Like, then it becomes about quality. Like, forget about time. Like, there's a bunch of things that will restrict you and make you not be creative. And the goal is to remove as many of them as possible. And if time is a very basic one to remove.
Yeah.
Just give yourself more time. And if then, you know, and that's allocating and prioritizing doing what you need to do. And then allow your creativity to flow, and then stop the judgment. You know, don't let the judgment creep in.
Yeah.
And then once you can start doing that, things will start to flow a lot more and a lot easier. And then, you know, I'm sure you'll find something else, you know, other people's opinions, which is just judgment in a different way. But, like, you know, there's a million things that it's all resistance, man. This is all War of Art, Stephen Pressfield, resistance. Capital R fucking resistance.
I think one of the, I guess the reason why I spoke about the financial aspect was something at the end of the day is always everyone's kind of thinking about is this song going to hit? Is this song going to be successful? Is it going to make money? So
will I make my fucking 0.001 cent per play? I think, man, fuck that. I think fuck that shit. Like, because just like the quote says behind me, Jono, the time of getting fame for your name on its own is over.
For sure.
Artwork that is only about wanting to be famous will never make you famous. Any fame is a byproduct of making something that means something.
Yes.
And that's said by Banksy. And that means that, like, if you start to, again, let this, like, judgment creep in on you, and, like, you start wondering, like, is this going to be good? Am I going to make money off this? You might start going down the wrong rabbit hole, because you'd be like, oh, this isn't, like, you know, I might make more money if it sounds like this. In the end, man, we don't know. There are very few people who do know for a fact, and even those people do not know, cannot print money, cannot just be like, this is going to be a hit.
For sure. So there's a lot of young producers out there at the moment who are thinking there's a formula to making a successful drum and bass song. And some of those producers might be, especially during Corona, might be like, fuck, I need to capitalize as much as I can, and be worried about, and like their future and finance and success and that type of stuff is suddenly more in the forefront of their minds than it was a year ago. And these are people as well that have just started to create. So imagine you're not no one knows who you are. You've just started producing music, but that's what you want to do. You're making the decision to do that. And like, how much of, like, what advice would you give that person? You know, because I would assume, I might be overstating our audience, but I assume there's definitely a fucking young guy that's out there, or young girl that's out there that's wanting to start producing, but thinking, is there any money in it? Should I do it? All this stuff. And then that's probably impacting some of the music they're making. They might go, oh, this is a really successful tune, I'm just going to make this. Or, oh, well, you need a female vocal in a song for it to be successful, or you need a lead that does this. Like, that stuff already is impacting someone's creativity. And if they haven't had much practice and aren't particularly comfortable in that water yet, what advice would you offer as being someone who's been creative for a long period of time? What advice would you offer that person? This feels like I'm interviewing you for 60 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Just make. Try not to judge. It's really hard. And also, like, understanding that your taste and your ability are miles apart at the moment. Don't worry about that. Your taste, the thing that makes you want to get there, is the thing, the fact that you listen to finished amazing music, and then when you turn on your laptop and you start tinkering around, you're listening to step 1 of 1,000. You just can't compare the two. And knowing that is going to help you. And also just make, just create, just like have fun, and don't try and buy all the things. Try not to get distracted, because while everyone else is getting distracted, you can be creating. And don't worry about your social media following. Don't worry about anything. Good stuff cuts through, and just do it. Like, man, I've talked to so many producers that say, I wish I started. They go like, oh man, I'm thinking about starting producing. And then I'll have that same conversation with them in 6 months' time. I'll be like, oh, I remember you. Have you started? They're like, oh, I was thinking, I'm just waiting till I can buy the thing.
I got to buy a new computer. Okay. I got to buy this.
Whatever. Exactly. It doesn't matter. When we had been doing music for 1 year, I remember driving with you, and I remember saying, I'm so fucking glad we started now. Oh, sorry, started 1 year ago rather than starting now. And I think that often, because I wish I had started earlier. Because I saw something the other day.
Was it something?
Who's the dude that made Hack It?
Yeah, the K-Motion post. He started making music when he was 11.
Yeah, shout out to K-Motion. Big ups, mate. That's fucking sick. What was I doing when I was 11? Fucking trying to play football and skateboarding and watching VHSs. Definitely not thinking about music.
Yeah, and I mean, that's
different era and everything else. You can't compare the two. It doesn't matter.
It's very true. But it's very true. It's the same. I think it's the same with a lot of those younger producers, like Muzzy, and some of the super technically proficient producers of that younger generation, the guys that are a bit younger than us. Like, a lot of them produced. Virtual Riot is another one. A lot of them started producing when they were like 13, 14, when it was like a side-by-side thing with video games or computers. They had an interest in computers. Oh my God, there's this like cool technical thing. You can make music. What's a synthesizer? And then that's...
Yeah, whereas, and you know, when we were starting, it would have been the first time, you know, early GarageBand and stuff like that, it kind of became consumer accessible. Because before that, like, I remember, you know, being in a, you know, after leaving high school and stuff, being in a band and wanting to like set up a studio, and then being like, all right, we'll have to go and spend $3,000 on a computer, and then we have to get Pro Tools, and then we have to buy microphones, then we have to, And all of that is just to record music. We don't even know if the song's going to be any good. I put the cart before the horse, man.
Yeah.
And and it's I think the key is just to create and have fun, because you can write a good song on a guitar. You can write a good song in free software that exists now. So just do that and then learn all the other stuff as you go. And like, there's another saying, it's like ready, fire, aim. And so like prepare yourself and then fire, and then you can adjust your aim and trajectory as you go. If you don't worry about like the fact that Future House is big now or this is big now, just make whatever the fuck you want and work it out as you go along. No one's releasing your first song. No one's releasing your 10th song. Probably not even your 100th song. And just go and create and create and create and create, because that's the only thing that's going to make you better. Not watching fucking the most YouTube videos or, or whatever. It's like making hands-on is going to make you better. Watching YouTube videos will make you good if you can put them into practice, I will say.
Applying that as an education.
Man, you can easily get distracted by thinking you're working when you're not working.
Yeah.
Like convincing yourself that reading the book is the work.
Yeah.
When actually, putting the information together and, writing the paper is the work.
And not judging when you write the paper or you write the song and it's not up to scratch, and then thinking like, oh, but I did that music, I did the tutorial, it should sound like fucking X, or I read that paper, the writing should be like, I should be good by now. Why isn't it good? Like, just because you do a bit of the work doesn't mean you're going to see the results straight away. And I think that's when patience comes in, and it's like, okay, I might watch this video about compression and I might apply it to this one song, but in 6 months I'm going to have a moment where I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. After all these applications of it, or whatever technique it is, or whatever songwriting thing it is, or whatever, it's judgment when creating music judgment when creating anything is such a fucking venomous thing to your creativity. It's literally feels like it's oil in your hands and you're trying to catch a ball. And you catch it, it's all fine, and then suddenly you're like, is this any good? And suddenly your hands are covered in oil and you just slip, and it's almost like you lose it.
Yeah, no. It's a good analogy. See you, Carl. See you, buddy. See you tomorrow.
How's Carl today?
He's good. Just working on lots of stuff. His tune "Follow Me" comes out soon.
Yeah, I saw on Instagram. To this morning. It's such a cool tune. Maybe we should just play that in the middle of the podcast. Shock One exclusive.
No, he's good. Do you still need to go?
No, I think I got another 5 minutes.
Do you know why I think I sound a little bit annoyed in this podcast, Jono? Because my fucking teeth hurt. I went to the dentist the other week, and now when I eat certain foods, it feels like they just go into like weird little gaps. When they clean them and they, you floss them and stuff, and then food gets into the gap and you're like, I can't get that out. And it's just this like, it's not a hurt. It's just like my fucking teeth feel like they're full of shit. And that just frustrates me, man. It's like sitting there and I'm like,
Have you tried to get it out with a toothpick?
Yeah, one of the studio toothpicks we have laying around. Sorry. That's sarcasm you don't need, is it? I think that I have some extra energy that I need to go and exert by doing some exercise.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you exercise today?
Because I've done my yoga today. And I exercised yesterday morning, but I think I've just got a little bit of extra something, and that frustration has built up over a few little things that have happened.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just think that combined with my teeth, combined with where I'm at with this song, I think I've got to go. So I'm gonna go.
Okay.
But yeah. Do you want to end it?
Sure. And I'll just end it with this. If you're frustrated, and I understand exactly how you feel frustrated, and I felt that way yesterday, I would advise going for a run on the beach and run as hard as you can for as long as you can. There was one day when we had a massive argument that when I was living back in Perth, I just went for a run. I just started running, and I was so fucking mad at you. And I went down to the beach and just ran as hard as I could, and that anger was dissipated within about 800 meters. Because running on the beach is fucking hard.
That's sound advice.
And then I ended it. I think I ran for like 2Ks and was just fucked. And I literally didn't have the energy to be mad at you anymore. And I ended it with a swim. And I just jumped in the water. I think I just wore my shirt. And then walked home. And it was just like this half an hour fucking exertion of stuff. And I think we've both been feeling a bit agitated for various reasons recently. And when I ran yesterday, I feel like I got a lot of that agitation now. And I'm going to do the same thing today to go for a run. So maybe instead of going to the gym like you might normally do, run on the beach and go for a swim. That would be my advice. And that's how we'll end it.
Not a bad idea. All right, buddy. Thanks very much. I love you.
I love you too, buddy.
Sorry if I sounded aggressive.
It's okay.
My teeth, man. Motherfucker.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast app and keep up to date with all new episodes. They're going to be coming out once a week. We are Ekko and Sidetrack on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter, we are Ekko Sidetrack. Go listen to our music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, or wherever your ears consume happiness. Lots of love, people.